Stone again. Let's get stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Every freaking day and every freaking night, I think about the world and how it's turned so shy. And I need some friends to moan with, so I can share my blues Monday night and Tuesday night on Raconteurs News. Come on. Let's get stoned again. Let's get stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Come on. Let's get stoned again. Let's get stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. You can come and get stoned with me. You can come and get stoned with me.
And good evening, welcome to Raconteurs News on this 21st of January 2019. My name's Jason Holmes, and I'm here on Raconteurs News with my colleague and fellow presenter, Paul Webster. Evening, Paul. How you doing, mate?
Evening, Jason. I'm good, thanks. Continuing my rehabilitation, but I'm doing okay. The pain is a lot less these days, so I'm on the mend, mate.
Excellent. Just what's caught your eye? Anything caught your eye last couple of days? Because it's just, I've sort of been sheltering myself away from it. You know, you see these. I don't know what the second Brexit thing is doing. You know, the second deal, the Plan B, as it's being called. I don't like to listen to the wankers telling us we're going to crash out of Europe, you know, and all this sort of stuff. So, anything caught your eye?
It's where you want to start, Jason. I mean, you've got to start with the protests again, haven't you? Really, with the yellow vests, because that's 10th, 11th week now in Paris. I mean, there's people been put into coma by the police last week, being shot with not live rounds, but smoke, what grenades or whatever. I mean, there's one lad been hit right in the forehead. There's a fireman who's got brain damage through it. It's things like that are highlighting the problems, but I still go out into my local area and people are still watching EastEnders and stuff like that. It's not impinging on people's lives. So I think it still comes down to that old adage where you always talk about cheering the balls. I don't think people are interested, but the good thing is people are actually talking.
People are getting
they are hearing
people
it.
are getting in the balls, and I'm sure we're going to get into this with our guest this evening. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention, just to make sure that I mention them, because I very rarely get time at the end. But thanks to the people, some people have been in touch with me. I had an email from somebody who used to live really close to where I live now, and who's a family member, actually knew me not from this, but actually from the local area. So she sent me some great information. I forwarded it on to you, Webby, and we'll get your analysis on that when you finally check your emails.
So will do.
Big thanks to Amanda Jane there. I don't know where she lives now, but she used to live not far from me. I also want to say hello to Steve. Super Leeds sent me an email, and he said to me, he says, "Can you mention Steve Turgoose?" He's got, is it Turgoose? Anyway, it's Steve Turgoose. He's got a show at 10 p.m. on Saturday evenings. So, and Super Leads has recommended that people check that out. And apparently, he mentions Raconteurs News as well. So we should give that a bit of a check out as well. Usually, I'm sat on my own at 10 o'clock on a Saturday because my missus, like, you know, can't stay awake longer than 9 most of the time. Yeah, so I'm going to check that out as well. So that's Steve. Somebody can post in the chat room what format is. It's Turgoose. Yeah, there we go.
Turgoose.
It's Steve Turgoose. So if someone could put in the chat what format that is on, then we can we'll give you. People will be able to find you, and I'm sure some raconteurs will be over there to listen to you. They do generally support other people. I'm not recommending him. This is Super Leads recommending. I've not listened. I'm definitely going to listen. So get yourself over there and give yourself a listen. If you don't like it anyway, you just won't listen again, will you? Simple as. So give it a chance, give it a shot. We support independent media here, like Harry Cookie Monster. I think he's got a show tonight. After I keep saying that every week, I say I think he's got a show at night tonight, and then he has. But I should really check out beforehand. But yeah, get into Harry Cookie Munster as well. And also, I'm going to save me Richie Allen thing, I think, for the end. So what I'm going to do, Webby, is I'm going to hand it over to you, and I want you to introduce our guest for this evening.
Well, I'll give a brief introduction. I've not known Shaun that long. I've only met him a few months ago at a common law court hearing, actually, up at Hindley near Wigan. And we sat and we got chatting, and he was telling me about the show that he does, and I was telling him about us, and we were having a good chat. And, you know, things just spread from there. And Shaun's he'll fill the background in about the dragons and stuff like that. But it's what we've always said is, Jason, it doesn't even matter whether people have got podcasts or shows or whatever, but we said we'd have people on here who actually have got substance in the subjects that they want to talk about, whether they've done something or not, whether they could be trying to do something or researching, as long as they've got something to talk about. And Shaun has definitely got something to talk about. So if Shaun's there, if our technology is with us, I can see a dog.
I'm hoping he is. Now, I think I've muted his microphone, so if he, I know I'm having trouble unmuting it. So if he could do that himself, Shaun, if you could just unmute your microphone, find out the unmute button and unmute your microphone so that we may hear you, and perhaps even turn your camera on as well, so we might gaze upon your beauty. There he is. That's his camera on, and his mic is going to be. There he goes. There you go. Right, fellas. I don't know if you heard that from Webby, that introduction, but you take it from here.
Sure, I did. But thank you. Hello, guys. Thank you for your invite. It's a pleasure to come on your show. I'll say that first. You know, it's a pleasure. Always nice to talk to. Great guys. Yes, I'm Shaun Morris. I was a dragon. I'm now sort of on my own in a sense. I support everybody who is fighting the good fight against the corrupt establishment, the Parliament, and especially, in my view, the bloody EU, who I hate with a vengeance. And I just want gone from the EU. That's really my battle these days. Yes, I do dabble in the common law. I use the common law, obviously, when we're out and about and you're dealing with the Gestapo. To them who don't know who the Gestapo are, they are the boys in blue and yellow, the police, purpose-trained army, not there for the people, but there to repress the people and stop us getting the message out. So, my view, Gestapo. Sorry about that, guys, if you don't like that analogy of the police, but, you know, I am living in a free democratic society at the moment, and I'm allowed to say that for now.
I'm going to say, which society is this one that you live in? Well, Shaun, you were saying you've only been doing this just shy of 2 years. So, what was it, if anything, if there was a spark? Because you said off air, and you'd said to me previous that you were asleep. You were asleep like everybody until it comes. Punches you in the face and kicks you in the balls. So
Well, brother, it was quite simple, really. It was the referendum. I'd never vote. I was 48 or 49 at the time, and I'd gone through my life. I was doing my thing. I had no care about politics. I had no care about what was happening out of my little circle and my life. And then, of course, when they give us a chance to leave the EU, I've never liked the fact that we are controlled by a foreign body. In my view, a person, man, woman, we should be in control of our destiny. We should make the decisions what affect our lives. So obviously, when we got a chance to vote in a referendum, I first had to learn how to vote because I'd never voted. I'd never registered to vote. So I had a job. I had to ask people, excuse me, how do you actually go about getting on the voting register and getting your name on there? So that was the first battle. Of course, I managed that. And of course, I put my cross on the paper, leaving the EU. And of course, it was quite clear from the off that they were going to, they didn't like the result. They hated the result. They never expected it for 1 minute that us little people would decide to walk away from the EU. So I could see that they were going to try and rob us of our vote. And of course, I believe in democracy. I believe in, upholding the result of a democratic election. So I was sitting here and I used to watch people I'd got the internet by then, started watching certain people and then realised that there was a lot of people out there fighting the good fight. And I decided that rather than being ignorant from now on, I wanted to join the fight. And I thought it's all right on a keyboard, but it'd be nice to actually do something physical and actually join the masses out on the streets or whatever I was doing. So I joined the Pendragons, wonderful constitution common law group. And I went from there then. I was heavily involved in the citizens' arrest of Sadiq, the I can't control London cunt. Khan, and that was it was a success. It gave the group a lot of publicity and it gave me the edge to move on, and here I am now, little under 18 months old. Well, show, I've got my own show. I'm like you guys know, I'm out there a lot of the time. I do the live feeds from these demos, protests. We don't call them that no more. We don't do demos and protests. We do highlighting the issues. The quicker people stop using this protests and demos, you are highlighting the issues. And there's an awful lot of them in the country. So, that is the other issue now. No demos and protests. Highlight them issues.
Well, we know we're in trouble when we're being told that we have to apply for a license to protest. You're playing about in legal world. Say again.
They told us Saturday. They said to us Saturday, "Why didn't you tell us you was coming? Why? We're just a group of friends. We've come out to Newport and we're just having a walk round, highlighting issues. We're not on a demo. We're not on a protest. It wasn't. There's no leaders. There's no."
See, that's the beauty of it, Shaun. That's the beauty of it, Shaun, because they're actually highlighting to you that the word protest is a legal reference. That means you're actually going to beg to be able to do something.
Yeah,
that is absolutely ridiculous.
The Dragons never did it. We always made a conscious decision that we would tell them we were going, but we wouldn't ask for permission, and we would never finger with them first. We never called them and said, "Oh, we're coming to the palace," or "We're going to arrest Sadiq Khan," or "We're going to have a Constitution Awareness Day." We did it. We called it. We did it, and we didn't converse with them. And if they ever come, we'd just handle them with a common law side. We'd just put them on their oaths of, they sign an oath when they become constables. And we put them on their oaths and say, well, are you here under your oaths as constables under the common law? Or are you here as enforcement officers? Because that's the other issue. Police are either constables working under the common law remit, or they are enforcement officers who are enforcing accent statutes, which in our view are illegal under the common law and the Constitution. So
the revenue collectors, at the end of the day, if they're acting as an officer, they're revenue collectors. The thing is, Shaun, we've been, you know, when the police came in, it was exactly that. It was protecting life and property. I mean, when the peelers actually first went onto the streets, they weren't even allowed to speak to people unless they suspected people of a crime or the people engaged with them, because that was their job, to protect life and property. That was it. Now, what we seem to have done, because of all the legalities and how we are taught the English language, that English language has now become our chains, if you like, and I mean, we advise people when we go out, we've got bits of paper with us telling them how to enact with them, what to say and what not to say, and that, and it does help. And you guys, I don't know, Paul, you've probably seen me over the moment. I don't get any hassle with the police. I've never once got close to being arrested. I've never been warned for my behaviour. Obviously, I do conduct myself in a certain way. I'm not abusive to them. I don't ever manhandle them. But at the same time, I don't allow them to do the same. I will talk with reason to them. And even outside Parliament, when we raided the media village, I dealt with the police like little children, and off they went, you know, outside Parliament. And we got to stay in the media village, where others have now been banned from the media village. Oh, well, at least you're doing something right then. We had
fun that day. We had that fun that day, boys, I tell you, when we raided the media village and give them some home troops.
Yeah. Do you find that the police in London I can't say switched on or awake or anything like that, because the police that are policing these days, they're absolutely, if they're in the job and they're enjoying the job, they're not actually even thinking about the issues what we are going to be bringing up or anything like that. They're just doing the job.
They're not allowed to have an opinion, are they?
Exactly.
They are indoctrinated to work under the accent statutes in a sense, and they are like robots. I mean, I did do a video numerous months ago where I said to them, I would like them to go home, take that uniform off, and actually think like human beings, like men or women, because in the uniform, they've got no thing to think for themselves. They're told what to do, how to enact with people, and what acts and statutes to uphold, and they're not men or women, they're robots. And I said, take your uniforms off and look at yourselves, look at your actions, and look what you're doing, you know, but you can only advise them if they do that. Who knows? You know, that's not my job to think for them. But surely, as a person with a brain, they should be able to sit down and look at themselves and justify their actions, which is what we do every time we go out.
Well, that's what the problem is. They don't have to think for themselves and justify their actions, because they are told what they can do and what they are going to be able to be backed up with. So, you know, it's a very, very real thing when you start talking about police officers. I mean, I've known a lot of police officers. If you wanted to get past the rank of sergeant, you were talking, you had to be looking at joining Freemasonry if you wanted to climb up these ranks. So the fact that this is an issue, you know, how can they be impartial? It's impossible. It's the same with the judiciary. It's the same with politicians. I mean, the fact is, you've got politicians who've got parliamentary privilege. They can tell lies legally. Why the hell is anybody still trusting this system? Because if voting actually worked, none of us would be able to do it. We wouldn't be allowed. We'd have been directed away from it a long time ago. The fact that people think now that they could just put it all into a basket with Jeremy Corbyn written on it.
Honestly, God help us if he gets anywhere near number 10. We are. Can you imagine him and Diane Abbott?
But it's anybody. It's anybody, Shaun. It's anybody. I get what you're saying, but it's anybody. If you're voting for these people, you're going to vote and let another party come in when everything has never changed with all the voting that we've had. Everything stays the same because the two parties are not opposition. They are controlled by the same. They agree on everything other than what we should be arguing about. So they give us points to argue about, and this is all.
Numerous months ago, Paul, I sort of called for the end of parties. I mean, obviously, in the fight I'm in, I get to meet lots of people, you know, Gerald Batten and Marie Waters, all these nice, great people who are all fighting the cause, and numerous other groups as well, organisation leaders from these things. And obviously, I also get a lot of parties who get on to me and said, Shaun, would you become a candidate for us? You know, the DVP, Fast for Britain, UKIP, whatever. I'm all, you know, I get people coming all the time saying, Shaun, you're such a sensible guy. You've got sensible things you say. Would you consider? And I say, no. I say, in my view, party politics does not work for the simple reason you have to toe the party line. So a few months ago, I come up with a radical solution, which was totally independent MPs representing the area they stand for. Because I'm living in them areas, on the view is that if they are from that area and they live in that area, it's simple. They will know the people they're representing, and they will know what that area's problems are, and they will know what that area needs to repair them problems.
And they want the shite that they want to dump on them because they live there. That's
exactly.
So and Shaun, going back to the grassroots, it's got to be the vital point for me. Like exactly what you were talking about over the weekend, where you live. Talking about grassroots, your local town, these people get in a community together. Because if there's a collapse, Shaun, I mean, we were just talking about fuel prices not long since. I mean, the factor is that if we were running out of fuel, we weren't going to get food into shops where we could go and buy food. So we were always going to face restrictions on just fuel costs. Now you are talking banking system. You were talking everything. Now, if people could actually be awake enough to formulate this, if you look across at America, the government's been shut for weeks. Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's still running quite well. It's still working.
Exactly. Unless you actually work for the government, i.e. you're not getting paid, the country doesn't know that there is no government. And it's exactly the same. If people get up and go and do the jobs and get the pieces of paper that says, I promise to pay, everything will stay the same. The factor is you've got people who are giving you, let's say, 2 arguments, and you've got to pick one. And we've gone straight down the middle and said, no, we're not having them. We're out. We don't want a deal. You know, that every person who I spoke to wanted out has never mentioned a deal. No, just get out.
I never expected a deal. When I voted no on that part, it was quite clear. Now, we have a lot of Remoaners. We've spent time outside Parliament, and their argument, you didn't know what you was voting for, you were lied to, and all this. And I said, how can you don't know me, you don't know if I knew what I was voting for or not. And they say, oh, but the question was too vague. I said, no, it wasn't. It was a simple question. An idiot could understand. It clearly stated on the referendum paper, do you want to leave the EU or do you want to remain?
That was it.
That is simple. Now, when I looked at that on the paper, I didn't think, oh, God, I don't understand that. I thought, I want to leave the EU. And that was in everything. That was the entirety of the EU, whether it be law, whether it be taxes, whether it be, you know, immigration policy, fishing policy, the whole lot. That's what that question said to me.
Well, look at that, what you've just brought up. Let's just start off with one of them. You're talking about immigration. Immigration is not great. And the factor is that we're being told that we have to have these. If we question it, we are now racist. This is bullshit. This is absolute textbook Tavistock mind bullshit that they are propagating.
Well, it's like the laws, brother. Do you realise there's over 12,000 EU laws what we have to abide by? 12,000.
We pay the amount of money we pay into the EU. I am not surprised they do not want us to leave.
$9.5 billion after we get our money back, what they give to the farmers. It's $9.5 billion hard cash every year for the privilege of being controlled.
That's another thing that I've said. People have said, well, where are we going to get our food from? We're not going to be able to import and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we stop paying our farmers to not grow and let them grow some food?
We've said that, right? We've had arguments in Wales especially. I'm in a big farming community. And you do get them saying, well, what about our grants? And I say, listen, we give the EU 9.5 billion actual hard cash, right? They give the farmers about 3.5 billion in subsidies and grant, but it's mostly to set aside land so we don't grow on it, right? Yes. So everywhere you go on the farms, they're growing nothing. The fields are empty, right? And they're pocketing cash. So I said, listen, we can afford to give them farmers their £3.5 billion still. That still leaves 6 billion. But you can then grow on your land and actually produce something on the land, which at the moment costs you money because it's not producing nothing. Yeah. So, and any shortfall we have on food, we can make it up. I mean, I drive around the country every day around here. There's so many farms. Unbelievable. We could grow billions and billions of tons of extra food, which can be used here and then sold abroad when we've got a lovely free world trade deal. You know, simple.
You look at how Russia has set itself up. It's got rid of all the GMO stuff now. Russia is actually set up for it's always been known as the breadbasket of Europe, but it's actually set up to give food to the entire of Europe and possibly the world because of the organic food that they're going to have growing there. Now, if we can take a look at what is going on in the world, and people could actually formulate thoughts that would not be from a belief. You know, it's like I still know people who vote for Labour because the dad did. That's not good enough. We are so far beyond that. If you don't want to leave a world that are going to, it's going to rape your grandchildren. It's going to absolutely decimate your families, and you're going to leave them to that.
You realise that at the moment, with the debt we've got in the UK, it's £2.1 trillion of debt. And there was a report out not long back what said that it's going to take the UK 80 years to pay the interest on that debt. So that's us. We're all gone. We're all dead.
Well, we know it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit, Shaun, because we only deal in those debts.
£2.1 trillion debt. 80 years to pay the interest on just that, and then they're going to keep up racking up debt, which is racking up interest, which is coming out of our pockets, which means we can't feed the homeless, we can't look after the veterans with PTSD, we can't give the pensioners decent money to survive. They've got to make a choice, eat or heat. See, and all the other issues.
Right. Well, that's where I've got to draw the line and put a stop to it, because when you're talking about there's no money to pay for this, and this. In a debt-based economy, Shaun, the gas, water, and electricity, you're talking about heating or eating. I was trying to get it to speak to Andy Burnham, when he was my MP, before he was the Mayor of Manchester. He was the Shadow Health Secretary then, and I wanted to speak to him about the Bills of Exchange Act, because the old people in the debt-based economy as a creditor, they are not liable. Me and you are not liable as creditors in a debt-based economy to pay, because you can't. So under a non-commercial agreement, they send me a bill with a cheque attached to it. I put my signature on that, Shaun. That transfers by my endorsement to set that debt off. So that debt, what you're talking about, that you can't pay, it gets written off. It's the only way to bring the debt down, because every time you promise to pay, or you think you're paying your gas bill, you're actually only promising to pay it. So therefore, the gas bill goes up, the interest goes up, which is interest on nothing. The debt is nothing, but the interest and the debt goes up because you're trying to pay. That is what is wrong with this society, because we've been taught we've got to pay for things. You cannot. So every time you try and pay, you're making it worse. I cannot say it any clearer than it. When you try to pay your gas, water, electric, council tax, you make the national debt worse. And if you don't live in a commercial property, what the fuck who you're paying council tax for, because none of us should be paying it. It's a business tax. All these businesses are getting all tax-free. They're not paying any tax yet.
Well, that's why we say to people, Paul, about obviously the common law people, we say never enter into a contract with these people. You know, whether it be bailiffs, whether it be people who are sending you bills, do never, I mean, we say just don't even open them, don't even look at them, send them back. You know, same with bailiffs, if a bailiff sends you a demand, do not converse with them, do not sign any paperwork. You are then not entering a contract with them, and then they can't legally force what they're trying to on you, because you're not, as a man or a woman, you know, them are commercial. You are a man or a woman. You do not have to enter their contract. And if you haven't entered their contract, it's unlawful. So...
Can I interrupt? I mean, you two blokes, you two fellas could be sat here for ages, but I did want to direct into a different direction, and I just wanted to let anybody know, anybody that's at home, me and my wife here are playing a game of bingo, and we've got lots of different things that Webby always says. And then if you get them in a line, you get, and I've just made a line with Andy Bastard. So there you go. I'm winning. I've just won the line on Webingo, as we call it.
No, what have you won, brother? What have you won? What's the prize for the line?
Probably a new pair of headphones, because these aren't 3D. These aren't 3D. They're two-dimensional. So perhaps a pair of headphones. It is prize bingo. Listen, you're listening to Raconteurs News. On this Monday night, it's the 21st of January 2019. We've got Shaun Morris as our guest. Webby's with me as usual. Please, if you're watching live, in fact, if you're watching on the way back on the replay, then give us a like, give us a bit of a thumbs up. It gives us a nice warm feeling inside. Yeah, please do that. But and I'd like to say hello to everyone who's in the chat room as well. Everybody who's in the chat room, Andy's in there, John's in there, Dinny's in there, Paula as well, Eric Cook in Munster. Don't forget his show later on from 9 o'clock, just after us. Cheris Rosen is in there as well, and is Locks Unfarthro or something like that. Anyway, hello to you. Dean Yates as well. Peanut Man. God, there's too many to say. We've got a very vibrant and great chat room. And Uni Black Sister as well, who was on the show last week. Big up to you, all you people. Listen, what I wanted to do is I wanted you to get into some of the experiences that you've had. You know, when you've been to these demonstrations, we were talking, and you were telling us all about these different people that are coming along. So what sort of, we've had, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but there's a guy called Dave Sumner. People will probably say he was far right, but then again,
I know Dave. Yeah, I know Dave.
Yeah, you know Dave. Yeah, well, Dave's been on show, and he's told us some of his experiences when he's been and he's confronted these left-wing fucking lunatics. Frankly, that's all they are, the lunatics. So, what about some of your experiences on the front line?
I've had quite a few. Obviously, we had the Cairn citizens arrest in early January of last year. That was planned like a military operation, I've got to admit. Nobody knew we were coming till it happened, which was a great success. The police wasn't happy with what we did, but they couldn't actually do a lot because we used the common law, and we even got them on camera admitting that the laws we used in the Fabian Society, which was so funny, were actually in full effect. You know, so that was great to actually get an inspector of the police, a metropolitan police officer, or constable as we call them, to admit that common law is still in force in this country today. Was a great success for people who are using common law in the Constitution. We still not get them recognising it as it should be, but at least they did recognise that we were right when we said it is still in full force in 2000. Then it was 18. So that was great. We've had fun outside the palace. We decided to petition the Queen in October, I think it was, of last year. And that didn't go down so well again with the police. They tried to use parks, acts and statues against us. They said we were in a royal park. and one of our guys actually got arrested because he wouldn't come out of the Palace area, which is classed as Royal Park. Now, to me, that was ridiculous because we were on a main road. You know, the Palace, everyone who knows Buckingham Palace, it is on a main road. And there's no barriers to say you're in a park. I mean, I thought parks were... So that was a bit of an eye-opener that they were using park regulations against us because we happened to petition the Queen. And that was one of my first, days where I went out and, done that. That was 2017, actually, October 2017, yeah. So that was my first time, actually. I'd only been a dragon 2 weeks. I'd only just got into the fight, so I was like a little scared rabbit. I didn't know what was going on and that.
You didn't even have warm breath, did you?
Pardon?
You didn't. You were so young a dragon that you didn't even have warm breath.
Well, yeah, that's it. I'd only been going about 2 or 3 weeks, and I wanted to get going straight away. And they said, "Oh, we're going to petition the Queen." And I managed to contact someone in the Midlands, in a town I used to be from, and we decided to go down together. And that was my very first day, October the 18th, 2017. So you can see I've not been in it long. When
the police were saying, I was saying when the police were saying that it was a royal park, is it not just wherever Prince Philip parks his Land Rover on its roof?
Probably, yeah. He's had some fun in the last few days, hasn't he? I did hear that they actually warned him about not wearing a seatbelt, but I thought that it was an 80 quid fine. So why didn't he get his 80 quid fine? I didn't know you got to warn him before. If that was us,
I reckon it's because he's not.
We would have been slapped with a fine instantly.
I reckon he's no driver's license. He's nobody to fine. Don't think he exists in legal.
The man's 90 odd years old. He shouldn't even be driving at that age, actually. I mean, he's never been corpus mentis, has he, old Philip?
Apparently, they told him when he was 50, when he stopped playing polo, they told him to stop driving then. That was 47 years ago. Now, he's parked a Land Rover on its roof. He's come out. He's not said anything to this. I mean, the woman that's in the accident now, I hadn't even heard of anybody else in this accident for about 3 or 4 days because it was all about Prince Philip.
Right,
he had a new Land Rover delivered within 3 hours of parking it on its roof, and then he's driving the very next day. Now, I can't do that.
I've got a story for you here, brother, about people like that. When I went to Parliament on December the 10th, just before Christmas, we'd called for people to be outside Parliament every day. So I went and started the ball rolling because obviously outside Parliament, it's all Remainers. And we decided that we needed to leave people out there as well because the media are only getting the view of the Remainers. So everyone around the world, if you watch the media, think, oh, the UK's all Remain. Look at the flags outside Parliament. So we said, right, we need people outside every day now. So December the 10th, I went to Parliament and I'm filming away. We're outside. And all of a sudden, there was a commotion over the road, right outside the Westminster Parliament. And there was an old guy sitting in this car and he'd actually run somebody over. He'd trapped his leg with his vehicle. So I looks over and it's Norman Tebbit, Lord Tebbit. And he's got this guy's leg trapped and everyone's trying to push your car out to let this bloke get his leg out. And, the police got him to reverse, right? They got the bloke's leg on track and then the police said, drive away. And he got to drive away from that incident. And as far as I know, nothing has come from that. And it was on camera and everything. And that guy, he's got to be in his 90s, Lord Tebbit. I mean, bloody hell. When the Brighton bomb happened, he was in his 60s. So he's got to be at least in his 90s now. And he runs someone over outside Parliament. Oh, no problems, mate. You drive off. You imagine if that was us, we would have been breathalyzed. We would have been tested for drugs. We would have been, all sorts of issues. And yet he got to drive off and go home. And I bet nothing's come of that at all. Disgusting. But that's the two-tier policing system we've got at the moment in this country, isn't it?
It certainly is. This is why, see, for me, Shaun, the biggest thing about Europe, the EU, for me, was losing common law and us being all man-made law. That would be, oh my God, that would be just so. That's not just bad. That isn't just bad that we lose all that. There's no remedy for us there, because we, as you were saying, if you don't engage in these people, I mean, there's no contracts. The contracts that you're talking about, there are no contracts between any of these people. These are what these people call deemed contracts. In law, there's no such thing as a deemed contract. It's either a contract or it's an agreement. And
can I just mention, Paul, brother, talking about the EU. Now, do you realise that the EU have got their own constitution, right? And we have signed the Lisbon Treaty, right? And I think that comes into force either 2020 or 2022. And once the EU constitution comes into play, when the Lisbon Treaty comes into play, all nation states' constitutions will be null and void. So that's the other issue we've got. We've got to get out the clutches of the EU before the Lisbon Treaty actually kicks into effect. Otherwise, our common law and constitution, according to them, will be null and void. Well, again, that's not right. They can't do that. So that's another issue we've got in the UK. We've got to get out before that happens, before that treaty comes into play.
They're doing it through the ruse of companies. That's why it's all about business. There's no countries. There's no. They're not looking at constitutions as a country, as in men and women deciding that this is a constitution. They're looking at employees. This is why the protest thing doesn't work. When we go and protest, we are employees saying, we don't like what you're doing. I know you're still going to do it, but we don't like it. That's all we're doing by protesting. It doesn't matter if we protest peacefully, if we protest violently, it's still a protest. If you protest violently, they've already written the rules that if you're violent to them, they've got bigger weapons, tanks, everything to come back at you with. And it's all aimed at this business thing. People have got to understand you're not talking about men and women. You're talking about business entities. You're talking about companies. If you can't differentiate that between those two, you're not gonna get the meat of what's going on here.
Well, that's why, Paul, we obviously the Dragons are doing it big. So I still do it, even though I'm not connected with them now. We try and get people to go into sort of work under the common law remit. I get people to go into lawful rebellion. I'm in lawful rebellion. I don't recognise acts and statutes. I only recognise the common law. No loss, no harm, no injury, no fraud to the man or woman, which sort of helps me when I'm out and about. That's why I've never been arrested and I've never had any hassle. I pull out my lawful rebellion form if I have to. I've never had to do it, actually, but it's in my wallet all the time. And once the law knows that you understand the common law, we actually teach the police when we're out and about. And they say, we didn't know that. And privately, we teach them about the law they should be upholding, which is quite funny sometimes when you're standing in front of an officer or a constable and you give them, say something, and you see them reel back in shock because they can't deal with you then as they would a normal everyday man or woman, because they know, the common law and how it works. And that you don't accept their sort of authority as enforcement officer, and that makes a difference out there. But obviously not that many people at the moment are recognising or living under that remit. And I've said if I'm honest, it's going to take 20 or 30 years to actually get the common law and the constitution back in the position it's supposed to be, with Parliament recognising it, the judiciary and the police as well. And unfortunately, we haven't got that much time. We haven't got 20 or 30 years to save ourselves. We've probably got 10 weeks, you know. You know what I mean? And that's the issue I had with UKIP, with Gerald Batten. The very first time I see him on a stage, he come on and, mass crowds there, and he said, we are hoping UKIP to have some kind of say in Parliament within 10 years. And I'm filming this and I'm standing there, and this was probably a few months before Christmas. I'm standing there, I'm thinking, 10 years? We haven't got 10 years, Mr. Batten. We've got bloody, at that time, probably 3 or 4 months. So again, you know, they're coming up with solutions, but in my view, these solutions are all too late. You know what I mean? The common law, 23 years, UKIP's grand scheme within 10 years. And I'm saying to people, what about a solution for now so that we can do the job before it's too late? Because once they've signed us into these things and it's actually in the law, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to get us out of it again. We'll probably have to go to all-out war to take the nation back for us, you know, under our own laws and constitution. So it's a bit of a problem, brother.
Yeah. I can't see that people are talking about they were keeping troops back in case we had a no-deal Brexit, or in case they didn't, you know, in case there was something that went wrong with it. She was going to keep 3,500 troops. Those troops aren't going to be British troops. We
mentioned PESCO, brother. We've been banging about PESCO, which is a combined EU army, and we actually signed the paperwork to become one of 9 EU countries who have actually already done that. It happened December the 14th. Yeah. And we tried everything to get that stopped. We were putting it out 12 months ago about PESCO, and people were calling us nuts. We did it the first time in October 2017. We went to Birmingham German Market. We did a Constitution Awareness Day. Again, that was probably one of our first days that me and Brother Gary from the Dragons did together. Graham Moore had cancelled a trip to the palace because he'd been arrested. So we decided to go to Birmingham to the German Market. We thought that was a bit of a symbolic thing. And we did a Constitution Awareness Day there. And we were telling people about PESCO then. And people were laughing at us and telling we were nuts and we were all conspiracy theorists. Yeah. And now, December the 14th, just gone, they signed the first stage of that, where we now, Britain, are in a group of 9 EU countries who have actually signed that paperwork to combine the armed services. So in effect, the UK is now defenceless in the sense that if anything happens over here, we are reliant on foreign armies and troops. Because like I said, if we were to march on Parliament tomorrow in our millions and they were going to get the troops out, do you think they would be UK troops? No way, because it is a common knowledge that a UK soldier will not turn their guns on their own people on this island. So obviously they're going to bring German, Italian, French, Spanish troops onto these islands. Yeah, but they are not going to be worried about shooting us, are they?
But what the British, surely the British troops then, if they saw that there were foreign troops on their soil and, you know, attacking and demonstrating and using violence against the people that they feel that they're supposed to protect. I mean, that's what the oath to take. Surely then we're in a situation where we've probably got a civil war between armies going on right on our doorstep, which is...
Well, there's a problem with that, brother. We have obviously done a lot of talking to military, serving and veterans. And I was in Newport, Shropshire, not so long back, at a place called Camp Spartacus, which is highlighting the issues with PTSD. And we were talking to veterans, and we had this discussion. I said to the guy, a veteran, Norman McGuigan, and I said to him, Norm, I don't think our troops would turn over. And he put me on a downer because he said, I'll tell you what, Shaun, he said, because they follow orders, he said, the serving army would do as they're told. He said the veterans wouldn't. Obviously, they are with us. The veterans are with us, and thank God we've got thousands and thousands of veterans who know how to handle themselves. But it was a bit worrying when he said that the serving people would do as they're told because they're ordered, a bit like the police. But I'm hoping that he was wrong in that. But you know what it's like. The police do as they're told, and the army, would they do the same? Hopefully not. But we'll only know that when the time comes.
You see, for me, we're talking. I don't quite accept that they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't defend us because.
Well, that come from a military source, brother. That come from a military source. So.
Well, I mean, fucking military sources. Yeah, great. I'm sorry, I'm not demeaning what you're saying, but I'm just posing a counter argument that these people, they do have families, and they're going to have families who are involved in this and who are being persecuted by foreign soldiers. And so just as a natural instinct to protect your own, they're going to do it. Now, if my daughter was and I was a soldier and she was being attacked or resisted or being controlled by foreign troops, and she were being hurt, and people were being hurt in there, and there were a chance that she was going to be hurt, I wouldn't give a shit. I would not give a shit. I'd be piling in there quicker than you can say, you know.
Well, I agree with you, mate. I mean, I did say that. I said I can't see it happening myself, like, but that's what this guy was telling me, and I can't believe it. And it's a bit like the police when they are ordered to do things. I cannot believe that they do it without a conscience. I don't understand how. We've seen what's happening in France. We're obviously connected with the Yellow Jackets in France. I've interviewed one of their top people. I had him on my show. I was talking to a Frenchman on Saturday in Newport. I give him a Welsh flag. He was over the moon. And we've, you know, when you see what they're doing in France, where they're dragging women across the street by their hair, 7 or 8 blokes, and they're shooting them in the groin with bloody rubber bullets. And we all know about the firemen and numerous issues. There's been 12 deaths in France so far, could be many more now, and literally hundreds of thousands of people seriously injured by the police and the purpose-trained army, what they've got out there. And we all already seen in France that a lot of the ones against the Yellow Jackets are actually foreign police and troops. They're wearing the EU regalia, and we've had information back from France that there actually are foreign people on the ground in France doing exactly what is happening in France. And we've seen what happened in Leeds on Saturday with the heavy-handedness of the police over here. And I hope, I can't understand how these people can actually do that to their own people, to their own men, women and children. I mean, in London the other week, we had a 13-year-old girl arrested, Emily, friend of Tracy Blackwell's, one of the mothers of the 3 lads. Emily tried to stop the police from manhandling Tracy. She was 13 years old. 8 police officers grabbed that girl, shoved her up a police van, dragged her around and shoved her in a police van, chucked her mother on the floor, because she wanted to go to the police station with a daughter. They wouldn't let her go because they said she was a witness to the crime. So they had to get hold of the dad to get down the police station for a 13-year-old girl. So, you know, and I can't understand these people, how they could do that. I and you and Paul would never even dream of doing that, even if it was our job. You know, but that is the problem. These people say, oh, but I'm only doing as I'm told. Isn't that what Hitler's lot did? Oh, I only did it because Hitler told me to do it. Does that make it right or wrong? It's wrong still. But that's how these people do it. They justify their actions because they are ordered to do it, and some people are sheep. They will do as they're told.
I get your point. I do get your point, and I've been on receiving end from police as well when, you know, they've gone way above and beyond the power and what have you. Now, what I'm saying is that they can do that, right? Because that girl that you're talking about, she was a member of the public, right? And she was nothing to do with these police officers. But surely, if you've got that's because there's been a definite separation of police and public, right? public don't trust police, rightfully so, because it's just completely corrupt and everything. But you know, it's not the main guys on the ground. It's not the bloke walking the beat or the bloke holding the speed gun or whatever. It's all been done around him. But now, when he's doing that and he's persecuting because he's told to, and he's following an order, and that's against somebody who he doesn't know because it's a member of the public, and he's been separated from members of the public. He's been told not to trust them. He's been told to not believe anything they say. But when it comes to family members, surely then we're going up a different degree. You know, we're talking about completely different emotions and different reasoning, and probably perhaps even some conscience about stuff.
Well, I don't know, brother. I mean, what I've seen out on the streets, I don't know about these people. I mean, I think the police, not so much the army. I haven't had much to do with service. Obviously, we haven't had them on the streets against us yet. Obviously, the police are the ones we deal with every day. These people don't seem to be wired the same as the rest of us. They don't seem to have a conscience. They don't seem to have any feelings. They seem like robots. They do seem to me like they're void of any kind of conscience, any kind of heart, because how the hell, if they had a heart and they had this sort of feelings of good and bad and right and wrong, would they be dragging a woman down the road by her hair, or 8 blokes jumping on a 13-year-old girl? You know, that's the issue I got. Are they human? Are they human even?
As far as they're concerned, she's not a woman. But what I'm talking about is because there's no connection, because it's been divided. Police and public have been completely divided.
Obviously, the thing is, they're not going to put our troops on our streets, are they? And obviously, if it comes to it and they put foreign troops on the ground, I hope you're right that our serving soldiers will stand up for us and say, we're not having this. But we can't guarantee that, can we? Do we want to wait for that situation to come?
I think we're doing a disservice. I think we're doing a disservice to our soldiers here.
Well, they're trained in the same way as the police. That's the issue. They are programmed. You know, they go in as young 17-year-old kids. They're turned into weapons of mass destruction, in a sense, to go and kill and they get a mindset. And they, like they say, we follow orders. We do as we are told, like the police. So the issue is, we have got to hope that then people you're on about, the armed services, have got the mentality and the heart and the thing of right and wrong, that they will not sort of turn on the people, whether it's their own or not. I mean, you saying, will they turn on their own? Didn't the Germans turn on their own families and friends when it come to it? They did. And that's the issue we've got. Okay. You know, you're saying they won't, but you can't guarantee. And we got to hope that they don't, but you can't guarantee that, because the mentality, the way they've been trained, they've been conditioned, you know. So that's the issue.
Listen, we're at an hour now. We're at 1 hour in, and what we do is we take a break. You know, when I say what we normally do, well, I'm going to drop the normally there. I'm sorry about that, Andy. I know that's one of your things. we take a break at this time, don't we, Webby?
We normally do, yeah.
You're right. You take a break after an hour. I go these days and I'm out for 5 or 6 hours and I don't even have a cup of tea. I'm cracking on for the whole time. You sitting on a chair and you want a break after an hour? God, man.
Well, it's to allow all our advertisers. I mean, me and Jason don't have these £900,000 mansions for nothing, you know.
No, mate. I haven't got a 900,000. I haven't even got a 900 quid bloody mansion, brother.
Okay, well, listen, that's the first hour completed. I'm going to just play a couple of records. They're really short records. One's 3 minutes, one's 2 minutes. So we'll be back in 5 minutes with Shaun, myself, and Webby.
You're listening to Raconteurs was used in 2018. I fucking said 2018 games in 2018. Wanker. Like radio people. The BBC tell us isn't what the new want us to believe, then just think of that and, you know, think about the benefits, because at the bottom of everything is somebody benefiting from something somewhere. And there's one thing for sure, it fucking ain't me, and it ain't you. When it's up in the guys, 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 when it's up in the guys. Now, what's them to sign out then, innit? You get a frog, or a wolf, or a spider, or a snake. How can you get a snake to be the same species as a dog? It's easy. You call the species that bites you. Weird. That bites you. Yeah. That bites you. Okay. Yeah, you got a choice. Yeah. Yeah, you got a choice. Yeah. Yeah, you got a choice. Yeah, you got a choice. Well, you want a punch in the face or a kick in the bollocks? Yeah. So what did you want to talk about? Bollocks. Yes. Listen, bollocks.
Super Leagues.
Bills of exchange. That's not much I'm interested in, what you reckon? I mean, that's why the molecule of intelligence would you see the league. Exactly. All the thinkers. Which one of us are you going to propose to this evening? A load of men who don't have sex. Starting to see a conspiracy been fooling me when I watch TV. They're manufactured views all over the news. It's giving me the blues, and it's time to choose. Starting to wake up from this sleep, from all the lies they spread that run so deep. But I will lace no more. Who are they fighting for? It isn't me. But now I see there is a new world order, but we're not invited. So much blood and murder from the drones unsighted. World War III is haunting me. I've got to find a way to save my family. The human race has lost its way. We put our trust in science, but it's us who pay. Used to be civilized, but we've been compromised. We're on a one-way train. We've got to break this chain. Starting to see that we should be free. The powers that be want a piece of me. Should I do what they say or tell them go away? What is the price for freedom? Cause it should reign free. The time has come to raise the bar. There'll be nowhere to hide if there's a third world war. So let your voice be heard and let your heart decide to stand and fight for freedom while you've still got time. Wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. Stand up, stand up. Stand up, stand up. Wake up, wake up. The time has come to fight. Wake up, wake up. Don't waste another night. Stand up, stand up. What are you waiting for? Stand up, stand up. Oh, they're gonna see me at your door.
And there you go. Welcome back to Raconteurs News for the second hour. There's two tunes there from Heath Dweth. Check him out. I'm going to that first one. I love that one. my missus was sat behind me pissing herself. I don't think she's heard it. I don't know if she's heard it before, but I'd not heard it for a long time until I discovered it again today when I was trolling through some stuff. So, and of course, Wake Up as well, which we're going to get another video for and get on there. So Heath Dweft, give him a search. It's HeathDweft. Yes, that's it. Heath Dweft. Yes. It's just, sorry, I spelled it.
You've not known him long, have you, Jason?
That's not really his real name. If you think about it, Heath Dweft. Come on, what does it sound like? It sounds like a man with a lisp saying east and west. Heath Dweft. That's why he's called himself Dweft. But yes, anyway, he decided to change it because if you Google his real name, it comes up with a prominent Nazi. So listen, I muted your mic there at the end of that first hour before we went into the break there, Shaun. So you're not back on. You're back there. We can see you. He's just going to unmute his mic. It should do it in any second. Anyway, we've got Shaun
fingering away here. He's done it.
He's done it, yeah. Took about 4 or 5 points, but you got there in the end, and
it's all touch screen, brother. And I have to bloody go around the screen and find the bloody
if you
thing.
Just click on that little cog in the top right.
Bingo!
Oh. Super Leeds has already won the house. He thinks he's going to win a bill of exchange.
Yeah, he does, yeah. Hello to everyone who's in the chat room. Yes, it's really good in there. I've been reading it. If you did this, you'd understand how difficult it is to read the chat room and actually listen to what your guest's saying. So sometimes
I can do it, brother. Sorry? I can do it. I do it. Everybody says to me about it, they say, how do you manage to read all the comments, do what you're doing? I do it on my live feeds as well. When I go on a day, I'm probably the only one who can talk to every single person who is commenting on my live feeds. Even if it's thousands.
That's different. Are you reading it whilst you are also listening to somebody?
I have conversations with different people, and I do a show on a Wednesday night on wakeupuk.net, and it's the same setup that you've got. So what I do, I've got my phone and my laptop together. I've got the chat room on one and the phone, and I'm chatting to the people in the chat room and answering the questions while I'm doing my show live, and it's just something I've happened to be able to do quite well. I've always done it on my live videos as well. So I do a live video.
So you can in real time you can multitask.
Yeah.
Do you identify as a woman?
Who, me? No, mate. No, I don't. I'm deaf. Do I look like a bloody woman?
Hey, whoa, you can't. Listen, Shaun, I thought you'd have known this by now. You can't go off looks. Look at what happened to you at the weekend.
Oh my God! Did you see that guy? Honestly, I was so.
Did you just genderize that person? Did you just genderize?
I did, yeah. Well, obviously, when we got there, we were outside of Wethersfield, and I got there, and someone said, "Oh, there's a little group against us over there." I said, "Oh, I don't care about them." And then when we come out the Webster, I went over and I got them all on camera. And of course, there was this, what I thought was a big woman. And I went over to get them all camera. And then all of a sudden, they spoke to me. And it was the deepest voice I'd ever heard, a bloke's voice. And I thought, what the hell? and I was just dumbstruck. I was in a dress and they had a chest and everything you'd expect as a woman until they opened the mouth. And it was such a shock. But I am definitely all male. Pardon?
Perhaps it was a woman with a deep voice.
No, mate, it was definitely a bloke, mate, honestly. Well, transgender, they called themselves. They say, are you against transgender people? No. It's a bloke in women's clothes. I nearly did ask him as he got dangly bits, but I thought I better not.
Yeah, I think that might have been a bit too far.
Well, yeah. I was trying to behave myself, obviously. I conduct myself in a certain way when I'm out on these days.
Well, you seem to meet a wide variety of people.
Well, mostly on the right side, in our side, they're all decent, nice, normal-ish people. But when you then mix with the Remainer side and the lefties and the snowflakes, like, you do get some strange people. I've got to admit, some of them are quite.
Well, we were talking.
They're not wired right, brother. Honestly, they're not wired right.
We were talking off air, Shaun, about one of the blokes that confronted you, which was an Asian guy. He's very articulate, but he has no substance to what he's saying, other than you're a Nazi or a racist.
That's it. That's all he could say. We did say that we reckon they were wound up. They're like clockwork toys, and you wind them up. And they've got the 5-word remit. You are a racist, fascist, 5-word. And then as the key winds down, they stop, and then you have to wind them up again. And we reckon they're all clockwork toys, actually, and they're not actually human.
You nearly had my heart jumping out of my thing then. I thought you said cock-wet toys.
No. Well, that's my Brummie accent. That's my Brummie accent, mate. I'm originally from the Midlands, and I still got the twang of the Birmingham accent, like. Even though I've been out of there 28 years now, so I've not lost my accent. We don't talk about cocks on live air.
You've never been on here before, have you, Shaun?
No, I haven't, brother. You probably won't have me on again, actually, after tonight.
I tell you what, just don't tell me that you support Israel about 15 minutes from end. Only give me
I've got no sort of things. My fight is with our island.
Yeah, that's all right.
Lots of people have got the remit where they're fighting for all sorts. My battle is with the EU and getting our island back. That's my battle. I'm not interested in what's happening abroad, really.
Can I ask you this? Listen, we've had Annie Logical in the chat room. I don't know if you've heard of her. We've had her on the show a couple of times.
Yeah.
But she's made a few videos and is convinced that the yellow vest movement is a psyop. It's all set up, or at least it's being controlled.
There's no control, mate. I'll tell you how the yellow vest movement came along in the UK. I got a call from the guy who controls our wakeupuk.net, and he said, I have got you a great guest for your show, which was, I don't know if it was just before Christmas or just after Christmas. And he said, I've got one of the yellow vest organisers from France, Roman Light, to come onto your show to highlight why they've took to the yellow vest in France and the reasons for it. So we had a great interview with him. And me and James Goddard was chatting to him. You guys will probably know about James Goddard. He's become famous in the last week or so for a certain thing he did outside Parliament. And we thought it was a great idea because for a long time, we've been calling for numbers to take to the streets. And the one issue we have is that a lot of people cannot afford to travel, down to London or up to Sunderland or Manchester. It's a long way. It's a lot of money. So we decided that it would be a great idea to get the Yellow Jacket movement going in the UK and make it localised. So there is no leaders and there is organised, but at a local level. And the issue was that because there's so many issues around the country, obviously each town and city have got their own issues that they are fighting against. We've got our friend Colin Wallall up in Hull fighting against Hull Council, corruption up there. We've got the people in Sunderland and Middlesbrough fighting against the rape and abuse of children and women up in the northeast. We've got, there's problems in Rochdale and that problems in London. So we suggested that people take it off their own backs to start their own Yellow Jacket movement in their own town or city. And we left it to them. we don't co-organise with them. We don't tell them what to do and how to do their days. They do it on a local level. And then obviously we get told, oh, we're having a Yellow Jacket day here, there or wherever. And then we go and appear and help them, give them support, a bit of moral, support. Right? So that is what the Yellow Jacket movement in the UK is. It's certainly not controlled. It's not paid opposition. It is just normal, everyday men and women, children who are going in their own local areas, highlighting the issues what are close to their heart. And obviously, it is stemmed that most of the people who are going out as the Yellow Jacket are Brexit Leave voters. So it is sort of overlapped on that sense as well. But it's certainly not controlled. There's certainly no leaders, and it is basically local level issues that these people have taken on themselves. So there's your answer to that one. Don't believe the propaganda and what's going out, because it's not true.
So what you're saying is the Yellow Jacket, from what I can gather, is that you're saying the Yellow Jacket movement in this country is not exactly, or it's not one entity. It's a number of local different areas. But what they're doing is they're wearing the Yellow Jacket, because then that is like an identification. It's sort of a unity with other people that are having perhaps different struggles. You're struggling.
Exactly, brother. It all stemmed from the French. I mean, how Roman explained it, he said the French. Originally, the French argument was about tax, about the sky high tax rate and the fuel tax. It's crippling them. And the reason they chose yellow vests, I don't know if you guys know, but in France, as a driver, you have to have a yellow vest in your vehicle. So originally what they did was they used to put the yellow vest, when they first started in France, they'd put the yellow vest on their dashboard. So that when you were driving around, people could recognise people who were, supporting each other. And then, of course, it escalated in France to going out every week in their Yellow Jackets. And that's not happening just in Paris. It is in every major town and city in France, but we're not seeing it over here. And, of course, when we talked to him about it and he explained the reasons why, we just thought it was a great idea. And maybe it would help in the UK people unite more on a local level. And the reason we picked the Yellow Jacket was, to show solidarity with the French and the Belgians and the Australians, because they're all doing it now as well. The Portuguese, the Italy, Greece, Canada, they're all starting Yellow Jacket movement. And we thought it was a great way over here, because we were getting people saying we can't come to these days because we've been calling for millions. So we said, well, localise it then. And that's what's happened. So, on Saturday, we had one man out in Blackpool, where there was one man out in Sheffield. There was a few in Leeds where the trouble was. There was so many in London. There was another group in Kent, some in, Essex. And none of them groups are connected with each other. It's local, so they organise it themselves. They decide what the issues. Every person has got woman has got their own particular issues. And of course, with a Yellow Jacket, you write the issues on the jackets. It helps you remember what, when you're conversing with the public, you can just say, well, yes, this is the issue. Mine's got Finchley Road on, 788, 790 Finchley Road. It's got justice for the three lads who were murdered in London. Tracy Blackwell's son, Harry, Josh, George and Harry. And then I've got Free Melanie Shaw, who's a political prisoner because she was going to highlight a paedophile ring, and they've locked her up. She's now in Rampton, which was last week. They locked her up in Rampton in a nut house to stop her putting the message there. Then I've got, the PTSD problem of the veterans on my Yellow Jacket. So you can write all the issues on the jackets. It then helps you converse with the public when you're talking to them, so it's a great idea. And it is working in the sense that people are standing up all around the country, doing their own thing, but none of them are connected together. It's not one big organisation. It's little splinter groups.
I think that's where it's got to go. It's got to go to those grassroots levels. You've got to be talking about your local towns. There's no point going. Well, that's what I said to some people. I said, well, there's not a lot of people that are going to be able to get down to either London or even to cities. Exactly. But they can do something. They could, if they're going shopping in their own town centre, just to put something like that on. Somebody might ask them a question, and then as soon as there's an answer,
when you go out in the Yellow Jackets, we did it in, especially Cardiff. We had such a great reception in Cardiff. We went on the train, we went to Newport Fair, and then we went to Cardiff on Saturday to highlight the homeless issue. There is so many tents pitched up in the centre of Cardiff city centre and the homeless. It's ridiculous. So we wanted to show James Goddard the state of Cardiff city centre. You know, you've got all these beautiful shops, millions of pounds being spent every day, and yet there is literally tents everywhere you look in the centre. And we actually were talking to the public, and they were coming and asking us, conversing with us, and asking. And of course, we could then give them leaflets, give them pamphlets, tell them about what's on our Yellow Jacket, the issues. We were, and we were having people join us as we went along. And that was great. And we've got spare Yellow Jackets with us and leaflets, pamphlets, whatever. We give them out and they join us as you're going. And we had a great day in Cardiff, so successful, and numbers of people who joined us and ended up coming with us. And we're coming with you. You know what I mean? And it's a great thing.
Well, it sounds like it at a level, like Paul said. You need to you concentrate on local issues. You've got more chance of being successful because the pressure is on local politicians and things like that. And we know that a lot of these local politicians are they're probably worse than the ones that are there that have made it, because they're the ones that want to show that they're ruthless enough so that they can get as high up on the ladder as they possibly can. But like you say, local issues. And as long as, well, to be fair, I can't see, and I do understand that there are concerns and people have made connections. But again, that could just be connections to certain yellow vest movements, because I certainly don't think that you went to Cardiff, didn't you? And
Cardiff and Newport, on Saturday.
Cardiff and Newport. I certainly don't think that you were paid to go there and do all that sort of thing. So I think there's probably some element of manipulation, whether that's manipulation of the public with the reporting or the non-reporting.
Well, we all know, brother, that the MSS, the problem we had with the Yellow Jacket thing straight away, the mainstream media and the left, they instantly sort of connected the Yellow Jacket movement with the likes of our brother Tommy Robinson, who I've got no problem with. And people like that. But, I could say that Tommy has not had anything to do with the Yellow Jacket movement. No one person controls the Yellow Jacket movement. It is up to you as an individual, whether you go out or not, in whatever area you decide, and highlight the issues what are dear to your heart. That was the idea of it. But obviously the mainstream media and the government, they're against us all. So obviously they're going to paint a picture to their narrative, because they are frightened of the Yellow Jacket movement more than anything else because of what's happening in France. Because the Yellow Jacket movement does seem to get more people to come out and stand with everyone else, and the government's terrified. We've had reports that in Parliament they are more terrified than anything else what's gone along since, because they can see the people, because it's local, they can see the people rising in the numbers, what terrifies them. So that's the other thing with the Yellow Jackets. They're terrified, and they will tell you what they like to put you off, to tell you against us. That's obvious.
I suppose for every person that attends one of these places, one of these meetings, or one of these meetups, I suppose for every one that turns up, there's probably 20, 30, 40, even 100 who can't arrive but are there in solidarity with that person. I
Oh,
know
yeah, definitely.
like Adi was in solidarity and way before his time, because from when he came back from Thailand on his last visit, he got a yellow Jap's eye.
Yeah. He got a what? A yellow what? Jap's eye. Right, so he caught some dodgy disease, did he?
I'm sorry, that
will happen if you're over that part of the world, mate. You want to keep him away from the lady boys.
Sorry, I've just that was just a contrived thing to just try and get that joke in. I just thought of that joke and it made me laugh when I thought about it.
Mate, it made you laugh that much. I could see you writing it down. I thought, oh Christ, what's he going to come out with here? I could see that childlike grin on your face, and you scribbling away. I thought, oh Christ, what's he going to come out with? So, what would after this weekend, Shaun? Do you see more people now? Contacting others and looking at what they can do. Do you see this spark starting to spread now? Because I know I've just even read an article about the yellow vests that have gone, viral. Every country there's some form of movement that's happening now. We have Taylor on
contact with every group in most of the world. I mean, obviously. I've had contact with the Australians, started one this weekend in New Zealand, Wellington. They had their first yellow vest in Wellington. Thousands and thousands in Wellington took to the street. We've heard from the Portuguese, like I say, the Greeks. They went out on the weekend. First time they've done it. The Canadians, they're doing it. And it seems that the yellow jacket thing is the one what is uniting the working class people around the world. And of course, we are conversing with them people. Obviously, as you do more and more, you get more experience in how to, to put these things on and how to conduct yourself on. And of course, we give, advice to people, and it is for some unknown reason, the yellow jacket thing seems to be the spark what is raising the masses. And this weekend just gone was only the second time in the UK, and yet the numbers from weekend just gone to the first one was probably tenfold. And of course, if they're going out again this weekend, it's going to be every week, sometimes in the week as well. There's talk that we're going to the Welsh Assembly at some point in the week. And it is a fact that the yellow jackets, for some reason, is motivating the people to get out in the numbers required.
Yeah, I think when people turn up at an event or something like that, they can see people standing around and they don't know who they should stand with or who they should speak to. Obviously, when everybody's wearing fluorescent yellow vests, you have a bit more of an idea.
Exactly. That is the one issue. We have discussed changing the colour to orange because obviously the police wear the yellow jackets, and also what has happened this weekend is the left and the snowflakes have started to don the yellow jackets, and what they're doing then, they are infiltrating the groups and then starting trouble. And of course, because they're in yellow jackets, the media,
it spreads to everybody.
They try and say the trouble is coming from the yellow jackets. So that is an issue now we're seeing in the UK, especially the infiltration from the enemy has happened very quickly. It hasn't happened in France as quick because, as Roman said in France, what they're doing in France, every town, city and village, right, the people who go out on the days, they know everybody, they know each other. So it's not easy to be infiltrated by the enemy because straight away they're saying, well, who is this guy? We don't know him. Do you know him? And of course, but in the UK, obviously, it's not so easy because it's only just got up and it isn't in every town and city at the moment. People are still traveling to join one of these. So until it's in every town, city, village and whatever, you will get that problem. and that's just one of the things in the UK. We've got a lot of enemy, mate. I mean, for every one of us who is in this battle, we've got one against us at the moment, which is it's shocking that we've got so many traitors in the country, actually, and enemies of the state, in my view. In the Second World War, they would have been arrested as collaborators, but, that's the UK for you these days.
Shaun, what I wanted to ask you, what have you found on social media? How have you found social media? Because I've noticed, you can imagine what my Facebook page looks like and what sort of stuff I have on there, mostly Paul Webster stuff that is shared, but sometimes in there as well. But, most of the stuff, and I've noticed a lack of anything yellow vest related in the last few days. Also, I've noticed other people commenting on it. I've just not been bothered because it don't bother me. But I have noticed that the notifications that I'm getting are all gone down. Yeah,
Facebook. They are trying to close down the yellow jacket information getting out. We've been told that our videos are being taken down sometimes as soon as they go up. They're being removed. We know that their Twitter are doing it as well. So that is an issue. We're finding it hard to get the message out to the masses because as quick as we're getting it out, it's been taken down. So, how we do it, me personally, mine hasn't been taken down. Obviously, they don't see me as much as a threat as they do some people, which is nice. It means I can crack on and do my thing. Maybe it's because I don't bang on about one particular issue. I bang on them all, so they don't see me as much as a threat. But it is certainly a fact that certain people's videos are getting taken down as quick as they go up. They're moving to new platforms, which aren't as draconian as Facebook and Twitter is. Obviously, Facebook and Twitter is controlled by the left. They don't like us putting our side out. And yet, if you want to see people being beheaded and that, you can find videos every minute of the day. I got sent one today and it's disgusting. I won't watch them.
Jason, but, we don't control that, do we? You said the left controls all that. We don't control that, do we?
Well, we do.
No, we were told, Shaun, that we're far left.
By Dave.
Oh, you're far left, are you? Yeah. Nice one. I'm told I'm far right every day, and I'm not. So,
yeah, but it was Dave Sumner that told us we were far left.
Oh, it was Dave, was it? It was Dave. Oh. Well, what had you said to him for him to come up with that view? Like you must have said something to it.
I actually started to talk about bills of exchange and promissory notes and a debt-based banking system, and he told me I was far left.
Well, that don't make you far left, does it? That means you're against corruption and all the
listen, I think you were a bit tongue-in-cheek anyway, weren't you? You just said yeah. You were a bit tongue-in-cheek. I don't think he really meant it. And I really like Dave. We've had Dave on a couple of times.
Yeah.
He's a good fella. I don't agree with everything he says, but
the thing is, brother, we'll never agree with everything, will we? The beauty at the moment.
If we all start agreeing on everything, is that not growth just stopping right there?
Well, yeah, exactly.
You've got to disagree to grow.
We've got to agree to disagree sometimes. I won't agree with. I mean, the people I go out with whenever I go, I don't agree with all their opinions and views, but because as long as they're standing with me in a view and they're against the EU, that's fine by me. That is my, some people, we've all got our own reasons for in it. Mine is I love my island and I think we need to be independent. We need to be in control of our own destiny and the way we go forward. And that is mine. But some people, they've got different views, different ideas on different things, and that's fine by me. I've got no problem with that because we live in a free society where you're allowed to have an opinion and a view which is different to others, unless you're on the left, of course, and then you're not allowed because they won't let you have your different views, which is the problem we got. But their problem, they're all indoctrinated. They're all sheep. They follow a very narrow narrative, and anything either side of that narrative, whether it be left or right, that's it. You're an enemy of them, and we're wrong, whatever we say and do.
Well, I'd like to see somebody left of the far left. Would they be even more left?
Probably, yeah. I could imagine it's same as the right. I mean, you've got right. We just say we're just right. We're not far right. We're not far right extremists. We are right in our thinking. It's right that we should be out there, trying to help the homeless and all these other issues. So we're right, not far right, and we're certainly not extreme right, And again, with the left, there's left, there's extreme, and then there's way out there left. You know what I mean? And it's the same both sides, I reckon.
You find a lot of people can't have a conversation with you unless they can put a label on something or put you into a box.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Especially with them who we had against us on, well, you've seen the label we got called on Saturday.
I saw a lot. I saw a fair bit of it, Shaun. And when you just kept saying you're racist, and you actually say, look, stop shouting at me. Why am I racist? There's absolutely no way. That's it. You disarm them.
They can't tell you why you're racist.
No.
You can't have dialogue with these people. They will not. We've offered to sit down with them and have a nice, sensible discussion. And,
I'd love to get one on here. I'd love to get a Remainer on here and tell us why. I'd love that.
Well, you want to try, mate? Unfortunately, I don't know many Remainers, unfortunately.
Me neither.
At the moment.
Me neither.
Do you want to do that, Webby? Do you want to do that when I'm on holiday?
What you want to do, brother? What you want to do, guy? You want to go down to Parliament and do a live show from Parliament one week, and there's plenty out there. And them guys outside Parliament, they're the full ticket. I tell you, they're all paid £80 a day to stand outside Parliament. You can have some great fun with them guys, and you can try and discuss with them. But it's hard work, mate, but it is fun. Honestly, I can recommend a day outside Parliament at the moment with the Remainers. It is so funny, and you see what they're about and how much non-substance there is about them. And it does cheer you up, honestly. I had my best 2 days in the last few months has been outside Parliament. I really enjoyed I've done 2 so far in the last month.
Yeah, but you didn't know what you were voting for.
That's it. Well, that's the first thing they tell you outside Parliament. They say you didn't know what you're voting for.
Now, if you were to vote again, would you change your mind?
Not a chance, mate. If I voted 100 times, because the way it's going to be the best of 599 or something if you leave it to the Remainer. I would vote out every time.
So you're on the fence then, Shaun? Is that what you're saying?
I'm on the fence,
It never ceases to amaze me because when I actually, friends and colleagues of mine, some of them have said that they wanted to remain. And when you ask them why, it's always to do with money or jobs or something like that. Now, for me, because I look at in 40 years, I've seen apprenticeships where people could learn how to build a boat from scratch, and become a craftsman. I've gone from that generation who were able to do that to generations now where they're getting certificates from college for stacking shelves. This is now a society that is consume and throw away. And that includes our people, that includes our elderly, that includes our youngsters. The society is eating itself from the inside. And there's nothing new, Shaun. There's absolutely nothing new on this. Society has always collapsed from within. All these regimes, the Romans, Greeks, all these empires collapse from within because it eats itself. And that's exactly what we're doing. Bread and circuses. There's nothing new under the sun.
I'll tell you now, mate, I've got a lot of friends who work in the local supermarket. We're only a little town, so of course, one of the biggest employers is the local supermarket, right? And I've got a lot of friends who work in it. And I was talking to one of them the other week, and they were saying that they had been on a 3-day course through the company. You'll never guess what for.
You're probably right, because it's going to be, there's a lot of ridiculous things.
I laughed my head off when they told me they did a 3-day course on how to safely go up a stepladder. And the ladders in the supermarket, right, they're like push-along things with great big rails on, and there's about 4 steps, right? There's about 4 steps. And I said to this person, I said, you are telling me that your firm spent so much money and took you off your job for 3 days to learn how to... I said, have you ever decorated at home? Have you ever hung up a hanging basket or washed your windows with a stepladder? And they said, yeah.
To be fair, Shaun, it's training that I could probably do with.
Honestly, I laughed my head off. I couldn't believe it. And they said that every single person in that shop has to go on that course. And they then get a certificate to say they are competent to go up 4 steps on a stepladder. So, what's your answer to that one, bro? When you're saying about it's unbelievable.
You just reiterating it, Shaun. This is, in 40 years, that is how we've become from where people could go and do a job and learn not only a trade but a skill, become a craftsman. You know, we had all these options open, and slowly but surely, all these have been closed off. We've had things taken out of the curriculum, and all this stuff is now designed to teach children what to think about things, but not to think too much about anything.
Exactly. It's indoctrination, isn't it? And they're dumbing down the we say they're dumbing down the population. Definitely. Because you don't want somebody who is too clever, because they're not so easy to control, are they? The more stupid someone is and the less intelligent got, the easier they are to control to your way. So having a brain and being able to think for yourself is not conducive to being able to control that person, which is the other issue. No. You know, I've never been able to be controlled. My parents couldn't control me. My teachers couldn't control me. Nothing's ever controlled me. No job, no boss. I am in control, and I make my decisions based on my morals, my principles, and you know, by using my head. And that's the other issue. They're brain dead these days. Even the ones who go to college and university, you talk to them, they're as thick as pig shit. And you think, you've been to university and college, and you don't even know how to spell a simple word or add up, you know, more than 2 figures.
See, that's what changed. That's what changed, Shaun. The grammar, you know, it was very particular. I mean, my mum was obsessed with me learning English. So, and I find English very easy. And when you see in the curriculum, because when I was at school, you was marked on whether there was a comma, an apostrophe, or anything in the right or wrong places. Now it doesn't matter. As long as there's content, it can all be written in capital letters. The base language, and it can all be written in hieroglyphs.
They don't learn them spelling because they've got spell check.
It doesn't matter, because if you show little Johnny that he's not spelling things right, that could hurt his feelings.
Oh yeah, well that's like when I heard about the young children's football leagues where they were going to do away with winning and losing games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? How stupid are that? So you go and play football, and it must always be a draw. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings because they lost the game. You know what I mean? What the hell is that about?
Well, for me, all this toxic masculinity shite, it's taken away. See, for me, it seems quite simple. For me, a man brings a certain skill set to the, you know, and it doesn't matter that man's skill set does have nothing to do with what the woman's skill set comes. Now, what women are being told, because I know lots of women like this. I know women who would love to stay at home mums and would make the home, would have food, everything.
These days, can they,
well, that's one thing, but these people would go and do that. But everything is decimated against that, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And you find people, I mean, there's a few families that I still know, very few, where when it comes tea time, we're at the dining table, there's no phones, and we talk. There's no television. Yeah. You're not in a room on Wi-Fi, on an iPad with your tea. You come and sit. For the fact that these two parents go out, work like dogs, and have provided for these kids, you show us some bleeding respect, and we've had time as a family. That family unit, Shaun, in the 40 years, along with that education system, has been absolutely obliterated, been absolutely decimated. And that, as you rightly said, that education system, it shoots those kids' minds full of holes. So every kid's mind's got the same holes in.
Well, they don't educate now, do they? No. We say they don't educate now. They indoctrinate. Yeah. And they all think the same. They've all got the same views. I mean, the classic one is Donald Trump. They all hate Donald Trump. And when I said to my granddaughter about it, straight away, I hate Donald Trump. I said, who's told you that? Why do you hate him? You don't know the man. He's the best president the Americans have for a long time. And she come up with all this spiel. I said, did you know that Donald Trump does not take a penny of his wages? He gives every single cent. I think he takes $1 token payment for his wages to be the US president. And the rest goes to charities. And she had no idea that. She'd got this weird view of Trump being the evil sort of, monster of the world who needs to be destroyed. And when I told her, I totally blew out the water what she had been told, obviously, at school, because it wouldn't have been her parents telling that. It was the school. And she said, well, all my friends think the same. Why is that? Who's telling them that? It's got to be school, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, me and Jason know that there's no agendas, so it's a good job there's no agenda going through schools, isn't there, Jason?
That's correct. Well, it is, yeah, definitely. I wanted to come back to the point you made before. This is why we've got into this position, is because we've got a generation that have been brought up and being able to, and not being able to, they've been. It's almost as if they've been brought up to feel entitled to everything.
Well, that's a fact, isn't it, brother? That's definitely a fact.
The winners and losers part of it, right? There's part of knowing. It's all part of growing up. Look, most of the things I've been in, I've lost, right? I've lost. Honestly, anything that's been happening in my life,
you're a loser, are you, brother?
I were even on the weakest link, and they asked me, and I came second because I missed the question that I should have been an absolute open goal. An absolute open goal, and yet I got the one about the currency made out of fabric. But that's the thing. But I generally, if something's gonna, if something in my life, it ain't gonna go my way, right? But
you're a loser. You're a loser.
Because I've been able.
I feel sorry for your brother. I feel sorry for your brother being a loser.
No,
but you're a nice loser.
I wouldn't say to myself that I were a loser. I don't think of myself as a loser. I plod on, I carry on, right? Because it's self-pity, all these things. But you see, now they've lost that. They've lost that ability to be able to lose, to be able to not win. They're entitled. They feel like they should win. And if they don't win, then they feel like they're a failure. And that's why we're getting so many problems with teenage mental health and things like that, because they just are not taught anymore the way to lose, and that sometimes in life you don't go your way.
That's it. Well, it's a fact, isn't it, in a sense? Now, when I was a kid, and you guys are probably the same, had you ever heard of ADHD, that disorder where
it was called daydreaming when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was called daydream. It was, you couldn't be asked to listen to the teachers or your parents because they were boring, But nowadays, you talk to people and they go, "Oh, I've got ADHD or whatever it is."
Everything's a psychological
disorder. And everybody's got it. Yeah.
Everything
and
is a psychological disorder.
It's an illness, and it's not. It's because their bones thinking idle. They can't be bothered to do as they're told or listen. But nowadays, because of the left, they've labelled it as a disease, like, and everybody jumps on it. Oh, yeah, that's the reason that I'm like I am, because I've got that. And another thing I'd like to say about entitled to things. The other day, I got a video sent me from America, and it was this young girl of about 12 or 13 years old, and she had actually called the police on her dad because he'd taken the phone off her because she wouldn't do as she was told. And the police come, and she called the police on her dad, and the police said, "Why have you done that? Why have you called your police?" And she said, "He's got no rights to take my phone off me." And the policeman said to her, "Who bought the phone?" And she said, my mum and dad. And he said, "Why did your dad take your phone off you?" Because she wouldn't do as they're told. So it was a punishment, take the phone. And she called the police on him. What the hell is that about? And the police, fair dues, he backed the parents, and he said, "You should do as you're told. You should listen to your parents, and your father has got rights to take that phone off you, because until you're 18, you should do as your parents tell you." You know what I mean? And so it shows what it's gone like.
She was lucky that a couple like that turned up, because normally social services would have been involved with that family now for bad parenting.
Well, it would in the UK, wouldn't it? In the UK, they would have been there like a shot.
Well, see, I know a lot of people who tell me a lot of the sick truth that goes on from social services, but I also
forced adoption and all that.
Or know people who deal with good, honest, hard-working people within social services who are involved to try and help children. You know, we often lose sight of the fact, because everything is so bad. We often lose sight of the fact there are good people in all this bad stuff. Even there are still good judges. There are still good barristers. I'm looking to meet them. I've not met one yet. But there are good people. Hang on. There's good people, what I'm saying, in this system. And these good people want to look for that light. And people like yourself, Shaun, who have, you know, one day they just go, "Do you know what? I'm going to do this." And, you know, I've had people say to me, "Well, what do you expect to do? Then you're never going to win." Do you know what? It's not about that. It's about having a personal pride in yourself and not knowing that there's a load of bullshit and lies that is raping and bumming you and your family every day, and all your parents and your grandparents, and they've been doing it for a long time. If you can know that and then carry on, then you're a completely different character to me, because when I know that I'm getting piss wet through and I turn around and I can see the cock and balls that are pissing down my back and they're telling me it's raining, that's not going to wash with me anymore. I can't do that. So I have to do what I do. This is part of the things that I do, Shaun. You know, a couple of days a week, we get together, we try and get people on, we try and discuss it. People in my local town are watching it, people are listening, people are asking questions themselves. That's all that some people can do, because not everybody can get to London. Not everybody has got money behind them to get themselves decent.
No, I find it difficult to get to London, brother. I struggle to get to London.
What I'm saying is people are doing all different things, and they're doing what they can do. You're doing what you can do.
It.
Jason, me, we're all doing bits what we can do. I mean, I've always said, Shaun, in 10 years, I'm not sure. I've always been one for looking and digging. But had they not come to me and said what they were going to do and then attempt to steal everything from me, and which was the complete, you know, it really rocked me awake, that. When I looked at it, I went, whoa, you can't do this. This is absolutely criminal what you're doing. And the more I looked, the more it just laid the foundation. So I could see all this corruption. I cannot go back to just sticking to those rules.
I don't think any of us can. Once our eyes are opened, and the further down the rabbit hole you go, so they say, obviously it becomes more difficult to go back to being ignorant to what's going on, doesn't it? Yeah. So you just crack on and keep going. and wake the people up the best you can and hope that they wake up in the masses. That's what we're trying to do, wake up the masses, get them all standing together, and hopefully with us all doing what we're doing, we can bring this system crashing down and put a more just system in place. That's the thing, isn't it? To try and sort it. Whether we will is the other issue, but at least we're trying.
If there's enough people that can help the people who are stuck right inside the system, i.e. police, politicians, whatever, the good people that can see what it's doing, they don't know what to do. The fact that there's people bringing this and talking about it, it will get to that that crescendo, if you like, where that wave crashes. It is. That's where we're getting to with that tipping point now. And the system itself, Shaun, there's nothing wrong with it. We've just got the wrong people in control of it, and the people who are in control of it are controlling people through their lack of knowledge. It's not through these people being clever. It's for general Joe public who is just ignorant to the fact of what the system is, how it works, and the banking system. The fact people still think banks are lending them money in order to buy a house is beyond me. It's absolutely beyond me.
We've actually suggested that we have a run on the banks in the UK. They started doing it in France last week. The Yellow Jackets were going out and they were withdrawing all their money out the banks. So what the French government did, they actually closed the banks so that they couldn't grab the money out. And we did suggest that maybe we need to do the same over here, to start withdrawing all your cash out.
I've got to say, what makes me laugh is when they did the run on the banks back in the medieval times, that was when it was all backed by gold. The factor is, it doesn't matter what they do. It's pieces of paper. There's nothing there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And the good thing about that is, Shaun, is what we discussed earlier, because over in America, the government has been shut and the country's still gone on. People have still done what they do every day. And it shows you the power of what every man and woman as a collective have. It's not the government. And they're not
the power, are they? The people are the power.
The factor is, we've got to look at these countries now as companies, and this debt-based economy means that as creditors, we're the massive shareholders. The government run our company on our behalf. The factor is, they've flipped that jurisdictions. The servants have become masters, and we have been taught or indoctrinated to take our eye off that ball and haven't got a clue how to act, what to do, and we are absolutely hopeless. And we walk into their courts, all their rules, all presumption, and we stand there and stamp our feet. And many of us have gone, I'm a free man of the land and I've no contract, and they're just going, yeah, whatever, guilty. Next.
Yeah, well, the thing is not to step into their ship, isn't it? That's the secret with the court system. Don't step into their ship.
This is what people don't understand, and what many of us didn't. But we all went thinking, come on, give us a bid here, because we are making you look so bad here. You're just blatantly asking a question, having armed police called, that is ridiculous. These are business discussions. I'm asking you a question, you phone armed police. There's something not right with that.
Yeah, it's terrible. What we're going to do about it, brother? That's the issue, isn't it? I suppose we've got to crack on, keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Keep doing what we're doing. That's our motto.
The eyes of the masses.
Where can people find you, Shaun? Where can people find you? And here's some links.
Obviously, I'm on Facebook. My profile is quite easy to find on Facebook. Shaun Morris. Dragon with a black country flag in the middle of it. I'm on, obviously I do a weekly show on wakeupuk.net every Wednesday night at 9:00. I've also got my own page on Facebook rather than open. I've got a separate page, which again is Shaun Morris UK. And that's about it, actually, brothers. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Periscope, WhatsApp and all them yet. They are trying to get me onto all these platforms, but I've resisted so far. You know,
yeah, take too much of your energy, that man.
Well, it does, but I mean, it's bad enough with Facebook at the moment, and we want to go. I come home some days, and my phone is literally pinging away for an hour with messages and people wanting to talk to me or information, even just the one platform has actually pretty much overtakes my life sometimes. So I don't know how people can be on WhatsApp, Periscope, Twitter, and all these other ones. You know, I mean, Wake Up UK is an independent site. It's away from Facebook. It's on the net. There's no banning. You don't get a 30-day ban on Wake Up UK. We've got chat room. You know, you can post in there.
It's the way forward, isn't it, brother?
It is, yeah. We've got to get off Facebook. We have discussed actually leaving Facebook, but at the moment it's a necessary evil to get the message out to as many as we can.
Well, I don't use Facebook that much, but it's something that is people are listening to at the minute. So you use something till it's gone. Yeah,
that's the problem we got. That's why we've got Wake Up UK now. It's independent from Facebook. It's totally independent site. We take members. It's free to join. We're building up the membership, and it's like Facebook without the conditions. There's no 30-day bans. You can post what you want within reason. As long as you're not abusive to, you know, there is a few rules, but we can't have people abusing each other to a bad extent, like so.
Well, I hate to cut you short, Shaun, but we've gone over our time, and I just want to I just want to have a quick chat with Webby. Tell us about tomorrow night's show, Webby.
Tomorrow night we've got Michael Doherty on from That There London. I'm hoping to find out what Michael's been up to. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, he found himself through not much fault of his own, through trying to actually just report criminal activity to the police, and he ended up on the wrong end of harassment, and quite a few things happened to him. I'd rather Michael tell the story in full tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome, mate. Well, listen, big thanks to everyone. Watson, come here. Come on, up here. Watson, up. Come on. Good boy.
He got you filled in last time.
Oh, Watson, did you call him?
Yeah, Watson, yeah. My name's Holmes, so naturally...
right. Nice one, Sherlock Holmes, eh? Well done. Cool.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to for everyone to see him, because Wednesday he's going to have his testicles removed.
Hopefully, sorry for him there.
Hopefully you won't notice, because I'm hoping to have some prostheticals fitted so that he can still lick them. So say bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. We've got Michael Doherty. You want to be here early as well, because it's probably going to be standing room only, because the Raconteurs News Post that we posted up about the show on Tuesday has had about 215 shares. So it's probably going to be standing room only in the chat room. So get yourselves in early. Listen, thank you to Shaun. Thanks, Webby. And
cheers, Shaun.
Thanks to everyone.
It's been a pleasure, guys. It's been absolute pleasure. And anytime you want to come on my one on Wake Up, UK.net, you're welcome. It's been wonderful to talk to you guys. And I hope your audience has enjoyed my company.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Judging by the comments in the chat room, I'm sure they have. Right, well, thank you very much to everyone for listening. Thanks to everyone contributing to the chat room. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if we thought we were wank. And so just do what you do. We'll see you tomorrow night with Michael Doherty. Tomorrow a bit.